All right, so rebound update. I have gained, as of Tuesday, which is 2 days ago, 38.6 pounds in 45 days. That's pretty awesome. I'm very shocked by the results. I was not expecting the rebound to go this well. Um, Checked in with my coach Sunday, which was today's Thursday, and the day before I posted a story, and the caption was, "This rebound has no brakes." And he replied, "The brakes are coming in hard." But then I guess he changed his mind based on what he saw in my check-in, and he said another week or two. So that means at this point I'm either done, the rebound's either over in a couple days here, or a couple days plus a week. So depending on what he says in this week's check-in, what he sees. So it's really cool. I really love, as you guys have seen if you've watched the previous episodes, comparing where I'm at now at the as a result of the rebound in comparison to when I was the same weight in my off season. So Tuesday I weighed roughly what I weighed, 226.6 pounds, and that's roughly what I weighed peak off season. So January 1st is the progress photos that I'll throw up on the screen here. So I'll throw up both what I look like at the start of my rebound and on Tuesday, which is the peak weight of my rebound, and also a comparison of what I look like January 1st at 226.6 and 2 days ago at 226.6. But yeah, now my weight last 2 days has come down a little bit, which is okay. It should start going back up. I'm doing less high days now. So we're on our way to the gym for pull day C. This is. So this is my upper back, kind of upper mid back focus pull day. I've still been kind of manipulating my training program because that was sort of my intention. It's fairly experimental because it's definitely, as you guys have seen, an unconventional way to split up your training, really based on like my specific needs. But I still want to put more, like every workout has a focus. So there's a lat focus day, which is all lat focus. There's like my loading thickness focus day, which is pull A, which is the one workout I'll have left to film. The one workout on the split. And then today's the upper back, mid back focus. But what I've been doing is making sure that every day still has a lot of lats, because that's by far what I want to bring up the most. And so far, like I'd say I'm very happy with the results, especially when you look at my front shots. You can definitely see there's clear improvements in the lats from the front. So very happy with that. But yeah, still kind of mixing things up. Not mixing things up, but just making tweaks based on the results and how the training makes me feel. Like another thing that I did is remove a couple of the exercises that load my spine, because my lower back was getting kind of sore, which I think is also a function of using a belt. I think I just don't really need one. So today when I do my bent over rows, I'm going to go back to not using a belt. But yeah, so once I film, this is the second last training session of the split that I've vlogged. So I got one more to share, to film. And then once that's uploaded, I'm probably also going to go back I'm still a member at another gym that is pretty good. So just to kind of mix things up, I'm probably going to pick two of my training days, one or two, to go and train at that gym. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to change too much else up. Because when it comes to changing up your training program, you don't want to do it unless you have a very specific reason, really, right? If you are doing the same exercises and you are progressing on them week after week, and that's not changing, sure, your progression will slow down over time, then you don't really want to pick a different exercise and have to reset that progression, right? Because reaching those, when you increase the load and you progress really far with an exercise, you don't want to put that to an end, because where most of that growth is going to happen is where you get to those high level PRs, and you maintain them. So just because you guys hear me changing things up quite a bit with this program doesn't mean you should. Like everything, it's largely because this program started out as being very experimental, and I have a lot of back volume. So at the same time, for the most part, pretty much all, like, there's a lot of staple movements that I've stuck with. So it's really just small things that I'm tweaking that aren't making that big of a difference when it comes to the whole program in its entirety. All right, so all three of my pull days start with the same warm-up. So if you watched first episode, same 2 exercises, cable pullovers, and then these single arm like lat pull down stretches basically. I did make one tweak, is I just switched the order, because I find getting a good stretch across my lats before I start the pullovers helps me get a better stretch when I do the pullovers as well. So for these, I'm just focused on getting a big, huge, deep stretch across my lats. I don't even really contract my lats much, just kind of like a dynamic stretch. And then, these are just warm-up activation sets, so I'm not going anywhere near failure. So I just go back to back to back, 2 sets of each. So the single arm pull downs are basically purely a stretch. There's no contraction at all. The pullovers, especially on the cables, like mostly a contraction. Although now that I've done the stretch focused pull downs, it's a little easier to get more of a stretch across my lats while I do the pullovers. So I go a little bit further now, but still just emphasizing the contraction. And I like to hold the contraction for about 3 seconds. Squeeze as hard as I can. So again, same thing. I'm not pushing myself to failure. Just getting a nice good squeeze, making sure I'm getting blood on my lats. That's the whole point of these 2 warm-up exercises, activation exercises, whatever you want to call them, is just so I can feel my lats better throughout the course of the training session. Okay, so upper back focus training session. So a staple for upper back focus is a chest supported row variation to really load your upper back. Now, normally I would do a chest supported T-bar row. This gym does not have a chest supported T-bar row, believe it or not. But this is basically the same thing, if not better. This is called a power row. So if you're watching this and you don't have this at your gym, then just use a chest supported T-bar row. Basically the same thing, slightly different angles, but so essentially my focus here is I'm loading. So this is a heavy load. I'm not really super focused on like going slow, getting a crazy contraction, but I'm gonna get a big deep stretch across my upper back, upper lats, everything. And the rep range is 6 to 10. So just doing warm-up sets here. So you want to make sure, like with the chest supported T-bar row, you don't have to worry about this, but I have to set this, so getting set up is kind of tough because I have to reach so I'm not losing the stretch potential. All right, so first working set here. Last session, I did 280 for 9 and 8. So I'm doing 290 this week. So I'm going to aim to hit the top of the rep range. So aim for double progression on both. And then if that happens next week, or next session, I should say, I will reset back into the bottom of the rep range. So I'll do a bigger jump in weight to get back to where I'm doing 6, 7, or 8 on the first set. All right, so going for 10 here. Oh, sweet, so I got the 10. See, as I mentioned earlier, as you can see, this is not a precision movement. This is a loading movement. So I like to think I'm still in control, but it's more focused on applying a heavy load across the targeted muscles. All right, and then set 2. So I'm happy here with either 8 reps or 9. So yeah, these are an exercise where like you might think to yourself, like, I don't really feel it in my back. And well, if that's the case, what will make you feel it more is just really emphasizing that stretch. So hopefully it's clear in the video, but I'm really making sure that when my arms are fully extended like this at the bottom of each rep, I can feel the load pulling every muscle in my upper back, including my lats, even my rear delts as well. So if you don't feel this one, that's probably because you're not going to that fully stretched position. All right, so lat pull down machine for upper back. So we're focusing on the upper back here. Now I'll show you the difference. So if you're focusing more on like your lats, mid back, like the difference is the angle or the path that your elbows travel. So like the more upright I am and downward my elbows travel, the more it's focused on like my lats and the mid part of my back. Whereas since I'm doing this for upper back, I'm gonna lean back more and my elbows are pulling higher. Okay. And then really again, emphasizing that stretch. You kind of feel it across your traps, upper lats for sure as well. Yeah, again, this is loading focus. So rep range is 6 to 10. Same situation with the power rows. I'm at the top of the rep range here. So I'm gonna add 10 pounds, see if I can double progress. And then if I do, I'll reset into the bottom of the rep range next week. Okay, so last session we did 285, 9, and 8. So same thing, going for 10 and 9. So 10 on the first set here. So 295, so yeah, we got our 10. So this is an exercise I find myself working on a lot with clients. It's okay, like you wanna start off very controlled, hold the contraction, hold the stretch, don't let the weight fly up on the way up. But then at the end, for the last few reps, you can get a little bit more, you can add a little bit more body language and swing into it a little bit. But you don't want to start off like that, right? So you can see like my last rep there, I threw a little bit of my hips in it. Now the key is doing that while still staying in control. You don't want there to be any slack, right? You want your muscles to be engaged the whole time. Because the more you have slack and momentum, the less you're stimulating your muscles and the more you're stressing out your joints. Okay, so last set. So if I get 9, that's double progression on first 4 sets of the workout. So a good thing to do before you start exercises is squeeze the muscle like as you get set up. So like right here, I'm making sure I feel the stretch where I want to feel it between each rep. So like in my upper lats and then upper back as well. So like my traps. And then you always want to initiate the exercise by contracting those muscles, doing nothing else. So a big mistake guys make here is they initiate the exercise with their hips, right? You don't want to do that. You want to, if you watch really carefully, you'll see my back muscles flex first. So I probably could have done another there, but that just means we have more runway. So hit the top of the rep ranges on both first and second exercise. So next week we'll add, significantly more load, whatever it takes to get back to the bottom of the rep range and reset, and then work our way back up. All right, so third exercise is bent over barbell row, and I do it underhand. So I basically have done the upper back focus part of the workout. So that was the first two exercises. Now this is more mid, like a lat loading exercise, I guess. Also kind of thickness because I do have to brace. So the last week or two, the last two sessions, these have really been killing my lower back. And it could be because of one of two things, maybe a combination of both. First of all, I put way too many axial loading exercises in my program. So those are exercises where you have to, you're loading your spine basically, bent over rows, deadlifts. So I was doing stiff leg deadlifts from the floor for my back, rack pulls, these underhand barbell rows and overhand barbell rows. I cut out two of them. So I kept the underhand and I kept the pulls, stiff leg deadlifts from the floor. So I'm just gonna start slow on this, make sure my back feels good. Warm up sets. Awesome, that felt great. All right, so last session I did these, which was the session before last session, because I just skipped them last session. I did 265 for 8 and 7, so I'm not trying to push myself to go any further since I had issues with the lower back last time. So same weight, and then I'm not concerned if I even match the reps, but I'll keep it in mind as I start the set. So we matched reps there with the amount I did last time I did these. Felt okay, lower back was definitely fine, but these don't feel the greatest. It's another loading exercise. So this is where I'm kind of looking at my program and wondering how I can make it a little better. So maybe, doing 3 heavy loading exercises in this session is probably not the best idea. So, but if you watched episode 1, that was kind of the plan to begin with. It's like, hey, we're going to start with an excessive amount of back volume, and then from there strip it down based on, what maybe I feel I can't handle or is just too excessive, which is the way I prefer to put it. I'd rather say it's too excessive than I can't handle it. Both are the same way. Sorry, both are different ways of explaining the same truth. So I'll still do the second set here, and then I won't make any decisions as to what I'll change until I sit down and look at the program on my computer. Cool, second set. So to match what I did last time I did these would be 7. Again, I don't really care that much for this exercise, this week at least. Honestly, it doesn't feel terrible, especially the stretch. So kind of similar, I guess, to the power row, the first exercise I did, where, you can't expect to get a nasty contraction because you're using a lot of weight. So it's more focusing on the loaded stretch, which is where more of the hypertrophy comes from anyway. So I might explore using a little less weight next week as well before I decide to remove these. Not sure, but I'll have to make a decision. Some kind of decision on maybe how to improve these, make them feel a little better. Okay, so back to our single arm kneeling cable lat pull down. This is definitely one of my favorite single arm exercises. So last week last session, I, I reached the top of my rep range, which is 8 or 10 to 14. Since this is like a precision exercise, and it kind of works better with a little higher reps, I'm not going to reset back to the bottom of the rep range. Rather, now I'm just going to keep progressing with weight, hitting the top of that rep range over and over again. So where this is a cable machine, so I just added the little extra weight stack thingy, whatever you call those. So we're doing like 5 more pounds this week, and I'm gonna try to match reps. All right, so first working set. Another note here, so the first 3 exercises I did are loading exercises. So the way that I progress is once I hit the top of the rep range, I reset at the low end of the rep range. That's because they're loading exercises. So I kind of want to bias in the direction of being a little heavier. Whereas for the more precision exercises, I'm biasing on the side of progressing slower, because I don't want the technique to break down, because that kind of beats the whole purpose of the exercise, right? So this could get, I could reach 14 and it could maybe not feel like enough. So I'm just going to keep that in mind and make sure that once I hit 14, I'm at failure by making sure that every rep has just really good technique. I'm keeping the eccentric slow. I'm holding the stretch, holding the contraction. So helps for me to explain that and keep it top of mind before I start my set. And in case you haven't heard me say it yet, on your compound single arm exercises, if you can go from doing one side to the other side without any rest, you are not training anywhere near as hard as you could. All right, second set. So yeah, no double progression on these. I match reps and I've got more weight. So matching reps with more weight is all I'm gonna do. Like technique, last 2-ish reps, technique starts to break down a little bit. So like I mentioned, this is precision exercise. So there's no use trying to progress faster and let the technique break down, because you're not really progressing at that point, right? You're just throwing momentum and shit into it and taking tension off the target muscle at the expense of just doing a little bit more weight or reps. So yeah, second set was even a little more sloppy. So progression here could be, next session I might stick with the same weight, aim for the same amount of reps, and just aim to clean up my technique. So we'll see though. I'll watch these back, of course, when I edit and decide from there. Fuck. Whew. Yeah, definitely like those last 4 reps or so. It's really hard to get right to the end of the full contraction, but at the same time, if you can still get a nice full loaded stretch, that's the most important part. And it's just the last few reps too. So, all right, so last pull exercise here. This is by far my favorite machine that I've ever used for single arm rows. So it's the G80 low row. So it just lines up so well. Like the contraction I get on my lats is crazy. So I am doing this in 2 of my pull sessions because it just feels so good. I started off doing this with 2 arms, and then I tried it with single arm, and it's just so much better. So Kind of tricky with the load because I just switched to doing it single arm. So last session I did 14 reps, 13 reps with 65 pounds. And that was over my rep range, which is 6 to 10. I actually think I think I still have to decide what the rep range is here because I have 8 to 12 marked. A little lower does feel good though. So basically I've gone up in weight to 75. My second set last session was 70 for 9. So that means I should be able to get over 10, probably 11 or 12 on this first set here. So the rep range here should be, because again, this is a precision exercise, should be 14 at the top end. So I'm going to have to adjust that in here. Actually, I know I remember last week what happened with going way over my rep range was I just realized I was being a huge pussy. It's always important to question where you're stopping your sets. Did you really have to stop there? Did you have more? Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm definitely not being a pussy now. But I'm always going to challenge that. So one thing that this exercise, this machine reminds me of is I got a question. Someone asked, why do I always feel my back exercises in my biceps? And the reason this machine reminded me of that is because the path keeps your arm, so even when your lat is fully contracted, your elbow is not bent more than 90 degrees. So you got to make sure like the back exercises you're choosing and the way that you're setting up for them, if you're feeling them more in your biceps, is your bicep, your elbow joint doesn't pass 90 degrees, or at least not by too much. And if it does, you have to be mindful of it so it's not taking over, because your back moves your arm like this without bending your elbow, right? The bend in your elbow just will facilitate those positions. Yeah, so the bigger jump in weight put me in a good spot. So 11 on the first set. So we'll see if we can get 10, 11 again. If I can get 11 again, that probably means I was being a pussy on the first set. Yeah, okay, I definitely 90% sure I'm not being a pussy. So I almost gave myself a headache at the end of that set on that last rep. And then another note on the bicep issue I just had pop into my head mid-set is maybe you also just need to learn how to contract your lats, right? So throw stuff in before your workout like I do at the start of my pull days, the activation exercises. So where you're just focusing on like activating the muscle, right? Practicing, squeeze just the muscle you're trying to work. And this is something you can do throughout the day as well if you can keep it top of mind. Like something I used to do a long time ago to practice contracting my chest is just put my thumb on it while you're sitting around watching TV and just flex it and just kind of poke it with your thumb to make sure you're flexing it hard. And that now, like, my chest is one of the things I feel the best when I'm training. All right, so back is done. Small back shackles are off. So now we're just finishing up with a rear delt superset and then some biceps. So this is the rear delt superset. This is my favorite. This is really my favorite face pull or favorite rear delt exercise right now. And it's the Lat Pulldown face pull. I've never seen anyone else do this, I don't think. So like maybe I invented this, I don't know. But basically I'm leaning back on the lat pull down enough so that it turns into a face pull, you're stabilized. And then I'm supersetting this with just seated bent over reverse dumbbell flies. And those are going to be heavy. So like with all my rear delt work, I like making every set. I make every set the same amount of weight, same reps. And then each set, I have to do more like forced partial reps to hit that set number. Because it's a muscle that you want to get a pump. It kind of, it reacts better. I find it responds better to pump style training. So 16 of the face pulls. All right, and then 12 of these probably. So yeah, done right, it should feel like you have a brain freeze in your rear delts. So yeah, when you're going for more of like a pump on an exercise, shorter rest periods between sets. So like my first set, the face pulls were a little easier. Like I wasn't really at failure on my last rep. So now I will be, now if I go for 16 again, I will be closer or maybe even a little beyond failure. And if I go beyond failure, I'm just gonna do lengthened partials. Yeah, that was good. All right, so we didn't get to any lengthened partials on the last set, so maybe it'll happen this set. Obviously, I'm trying to avoid it, and then if I can, that'll be a reason to go up in weight. Yeah, so now that set, the face pulls were significantly harder than the first. Say the last like 2 to 4 reps were lengthened partials. I got the brain freeze feeling after the face pulls, never mind the whole superset. So that's the idea with the rear delts and side delts for me, is I just like to pump blood into them. You can't really, they're not muscles that you can really load. All right, last set. So this should be the worst, the dirtiest and the filthiest pump. Oh. All right, so this is easily one of my favorite bicep exercises, and it's very simple. Just a single arm cable curl from the front. So pulley set all the way at the bottom. The reason I like this so much is because you have a lot of control of where you get set up, and it's easy to be stable. So a couple notes, like when I'm at the bottom, so as you can see, like a lot of guys do cable curls like this, where they're standing like right over it and pulling up like this, and then you have no control over the stretch, right? I have no stretch on my on my bicep. But if you stand back a bit and you have your arm out like this and you curl your wrist in just like a little bit, you'll feel tension on your bicep. So you're getting a nice loaded stretch here. And then pay attention to how like my upper arm, it doesn't move. All that's happening is my elbow is flexing. And then, maybe at the top, there's a little bit of controlled flexion to get a little bit more of a hard contraction on the bicep. All right, so I just started doing these last week. So rep range is 8 to 14. Let's see, I did 16.5 last week. So I threw on the extra weight. Forgot actually. So I did 13 reps with a 16.5 for both sets last week. So you know what, I'm actually gonna go up to the 22 because that's pretty close to the top of the rep range. So I'd rather be around, 10 to 12 than work my way up with reps. Yeah, so we just hit 14. So on my next set, I'm gonna increase the weight. I'll just add what the fuck are these called? Add-on weight. I'll add on the add-on weight for now, and then I'll mark in my program to start with probably even more the next level on the stack. So the reason that I switched to this was before, I don't know if I filmed it or not, but I was doing a seated cable curl from behind the back, and my arm would kind of get locked in, which is like the part of the point of the exercise. But it felt like my fucking bicep was gonna tear. So for me, a lot of the exercises where like your part of your body gets locked in for my biceps are almost like kind of too much, I guess. So like for me, exercises like this where I have a little bit more freedom to like decide how I set it up, I find typically are more better for my biceps. So like free cables, free weight dumbbells. I do like preacher curl machine for bicep. And then the version of that exercise that I'm doing, so like I was doing the behind the back seated cable curl. For me, a good variation of that I do that works well for me is a single arm incline dumbbell curl. So kind of the same thing. You're loading the bicep in the lengthened position. All right, so second set. This is probably going to be the last one too. Yeah, so with more weight on the second set, I did 4 reps less, so that's fine. So I'm going to start with this weight next week, and hopefully that means I'll end up, or I might even start with a little more. The fucked up thing about this is the add-on weights are 5 pounds, and at the lower weights on this stack, actually all of them, they go up by 5.5 pounds. So what's the point of adding a 5 pound add-on weight? These are German machines, so I'm already in my posing spot. Actually, the lighting's a little bit too harsh here. All right, so we'll do our pump check and then get out of here. All right, pull C session in the books. I think that was the 5th one I've done of this block of training. So, yeah, awesome session. Just a matter of I gotta probably take that one of those loading exercises, probably the bent over underhand barbell rows, and put them somewhere else. I don't really think I have a big loading exercise on my lat day, so that's probably where I'll move them. Maybe I'll share that later and share my screen and throw that in this vlog. But yeah, otherwise it's hot as balls out. I got a lot of steps to do probably, so that's gonna be, yeah, I'm at 4,600, so I got 12,000 is my target. So what is that? I got roughly 7,500 to go. 75 minutes of walking, but it's my high day, so I'm going to go home and smash my bowl of cereal. And that's really about it for today that I'll share. So we'll wrap the video up there. If you got any suggestions, questions you'd like to hear me answer on another episode, topics you'd like to hear me cover, things you'd like to learn from me, leave a comment. Let me know. I read every comment, obviously. There's barely any at this point. Otherwise, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you on the next one.